Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a closer look at a story that really captivated the world. I mean, it profoundly shaped an entire cinematic landscape. We're talking about the monumental success of Bong Joon-ho's Parasite. You've probably heard about the historic Oscar wins, right? But there's just so much more to unpack about how this, groundbreaking film has illuminated the present and the future of Korean cinema, often called K-movie. Our mission today is to go beyond those headlines. We're not just, dissecting the film itself. We're exploring the remarkable journey of its creator, Bong Joon-ho, and then looking at how Parasite's triumph has really influenced the current state and, frankly, the exciting future trajectory of K-movie. Get ready for some surprising connections and maybe some aha moments that reveal the deeper story here. Okay, let's unpack this. The man behind Parasite, Bong Joon-ho. Born in Daegu, South Korea, back in 1969, his family had pretty deep roots in the arts and academia. His father was a graphic designer, a professor, and his maternal grandfather an esteemed author. But even as a child, there was this early experience while living in Jamsil-dong. It sparked something profound. Seeing what he thought was a monster near the Han River, an image that would, later inspire his film The Host. It's almost like he was hardwired from the start to see the extraordinary in the ordinary, right?
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating there is how Bong's formative years, they coincide with this really pivotal moment in South Korean history, the overthrow of the dictatorship, late 1980s. That ushered in a new democratic era, one that finally freed cinema from its previous role as, basically a propaganda tool.
Wow. So before that.
Imagine, yeah, for decades, filmmakers were heavily censored. They couldn't show any negative aspects of life. So this new freedom, it was just this massive creative explosion for young, ambitious filmmakers like Bong, these Korean new authors, as they were called. They soaked up Western pop culture, sure, but critically, they didn't just borrow. They transformed these familiar elements, and that made their films uniquely accessible, easy to understand in the West, and they resonated globally.
Okay, so with this new creative freedom, how did Bong's unique vision start to manifest on screen?
Well, his journey in filmmaking, it began seriously after Yonsei University, at the Korean Academy of Film Arts, KAFA. He made short films there, like Incoherence. But it was his feature debut, the dark comedy Barking Dogs Never Bite, in 2000. That's where audiences first glimpsed that distinctive blend, the social commentary, the genre-bending stuff that became his signature. It wasn't a smash hit right away, but it slowly started building him this, cult following.
And then came a string of films that really cemented his place, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. Memories of Murder in 2003, that crime thriller, was a major hit. Sold over 5 million tickets, big numbers. But then The Host in 2006, that marked a huge step up, became the highest-grossing South Korean film in history at the time. Sold an astonishing 13 million tickets.
13 million? That's incredible for back then.
Right. It was massive.
Yeah.
And critically, it even drew controversy. Some administrations thought it promoted leftist viewpoints. It actually led to Bong being included on a leftist blacklist.
Wow. So even after the dictatorship, there were still these sort of echoes of past restrictions trying to silence voices challenging the status quo. That's wild.
Exactly. It just highlights how powerful cinema had become, even in a young democracy. After that, his film Mother in 2009 also got a lot of acclaim, further solidifying his unique voice.
And then he ventured onto the global stage. American co-productions like Snowpiercer in 2013, that was his English language debut, right?
Yeah, based on the graphic novel. And then Okja in 2017, the Netflix production that premiered at Cannes.
Oh, right. That sparked that huge debate about streaming films and festivals.
Yeah, it really did. But ultimately, he got positive reviews. So as he expanded his reach, it makes you wonder, what are the consistent threads? What are his directorial trademarks?
Good question.
Because they're incredibly clear and consistent. There's a strong emphasis on social and class themes, obviously, masterful genre mixing, and he's fearless with dark comedy and those sudden tone shifts that catch you off guard.
Yeah, you never know what's coming next.
Exactly. He's also known for using real locations and specially built sets, like filming in Seoul's actual sewers for The Host. And his shooting process. It's often described as cutting while filming, meaning he's incredibly precise. He only shoots what he intends to use in the final edit, basically trimming the fat before filming,
So it's not just about efficiency, it's about achieving that distinct, almost surgical precision we see in his stories.
Precisely. Yeah, it speaks to his deep understanding of how every single frame contributes to the overall message.
Yeah.
He also creates a really comfortable environment for his actors, gives them freedom, allows improvisation sometimes, which helps bring those complex characters to life.
It's also fascinating to trace his inspirations. People like Guillermo del Toro Nagisa,
Martin Scorsese.
right, whom he famously quoted during his Oscar speech, "The most personal is the most creative."
Mm-hmm. And Quentin Tarantino, who was a big supporter early on.
You can even see maybe the influence of Akira Kurosawa in his visual style, those static shots, the thoughtful composition.
Definitely. It's like he absorbs all these influences, but then filters them through his own distinct Korean lens. It's quite something.
So, after building this really impressive body of work, how did Bong Joon-ho manage to craft the film? The one that would embody all his trademarks, but also just break through every barrier imaginable. That's where Parasite 2019 comes in,
Mm-hmm.
that dark comedy thriller about the poor family infiltrating the wealthy household, posing as unrelated staff.
Yeah, this film's success was just unprecedented, truly.
Yeah.
It premiered at the 2019 Cannes Film Festival, and it made history there by winning the Palme d'Or. That's the top prize, basically the Super Bowl trophy of international cinema.
Right.
And it won with a unanimous vote, the very first South Korean film ever to get that award.
Incredible.
Then it went on to become Bond's highest-grossing release, $266 million worldwide, which, I mean, it just begs the question, why? Why did this particular film resonate so profoundly with global audiences?
I think that raw honesty, maybe, that feeling of universal anxiety Bong talked about, it just seemed to cut through everything.
Exactly. Bong himself said his motivation was to express the anxiety, sadness, and deep fear he felt from the reality of life. And that vulnerability, that's something we all connect with, right? Regardless of culture or language.
And then came the 92nd Academy Awards. Parasite making history again. First South Korean film nominated in any category, ultimately winning 4 Oscars. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best International Feature Film.
Just historic. The very first time a non-English language film won Best Picture. Ever.
And the first time Asian writers won for screenwriting. It was an absolute phenomenon.
And the film's visual storytelling is so crucial in highlighting its social themes. You see it constantly. It masterfully contrasts, like the cramped basement dwelling of the Kim family, often shot from above, making them look almost like rats,
Yeah.
with the large, spacious mansion of the Park family, presented in these long, expansive shots emphasizing freedom and purity. You can literally see a class divide drawn right there in the frame.
So deliberate.
Very. Even the editing is noteworthy. The average shot length is like 7.5 seconds, which is actually considered quite long, but it cleverly incorporates these cheerful inserts, those quick, almost frantic cuts,
Yeah.
close-ups, sudden movements.
Right, that keeps the tension up.
Exactly. It maintains rhythm and tension, keeps you totally on edge.
And the story isn't even over yet. There's an HBO limited series based on Parasite in early development.
Yeah, 6-hour series, Bond's serving as an executive producer, and the aim is apparently to explore stories that happen in between the sequences in the film.
Wow. It's incredible to think how much more depth there might be to explore in that world. This really feels like a turning point, doesn't it? So, beyond Parasite itself, what has this huge success meant for K-movie as a whole? What shifts are we seeing in the industry?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, like we
Mhm.
talked about before, that overthrow of the dictatorship in the late 80s, that really kicked off a new cinematic era for South Korea, moving away from cinema as just a propaganda tool. This period nurtured young, ambitious filmmakers. And the late 90s, early 2000s, people even called that the golden era of Korean films.
Yeah.
That's when directors like Bong Joon-ho and Park Chan-wook really emerged, laying the groundwork for the global recognition we see today.
But the landscape is shifting dramatically now. You hear directors like Jeong Go-won and Jason Yu speaking at the CJ Movie Forum. They're acknowledging a kind of diminished energy to freely create something. Because of increased data, more demanding audiences, the pressure of global competition, especially with all the streaming platforms now. It sounds like a bit of a double-edged sword. More exposure, but way more pressure, too.
It definitely is, yeah. Which begs the question, how are the major industry players responding to these evolving challenges? CJENM, one of Korea's biggest entertainment conglomerates, they've outlined a pretty clear strategic direction for K-Movie's future. First, they aim to promote high-quality Korean works internationally, drawing direct parallels to how Parasite raised awareness.
Makes sense. Build on that momentum.
Right. Second, they plan on remaking planned or previously produced works for reintroduction, thinking about how to give existing stories new life for new audiences.
Recycling content, but maybe in a smart way.
Potentially, yeah. And third, they're focused on expanding existing works and plans in various ways, maximizing potential, ensuring value is fully utilized, maybe spin-offs, that kind of thing.
So it's not just about making new films, it's about being strategic, leveraging what they already have.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it's not just about production. It's also about how audiences are consuming movies in this new era.
Hmm.
Post-pandemic trends in South Korea, analyzed by CJCGV, they highlight some really fascinating shifts in viewing habits. One trend is what they call small but guaranteed entertainment.
Okay, what does that mean for us, the audience?
It means you, the audience, are increasingly preferring popular, highly rated titles. You're relying more heavily on reviews, word of mouth. You're often waiting longer to see films. It's about reducing risk, ensuring a positive experience when you do go out or stream something.
That makes sense. There are just so many choices out there. What about unlikely come-ups? That sounds intriguing.
Yeah, this is a real shift from previous trends where, the opening weekend was everything. Initial box office dominance was key. Now films can gain popularity and climb the charts much later, driven by sustained word of mouth and maybe viral marketing. Think of Disney Pixar's Elemental. It attracted more viewers in its third and fourth weeks than its first two. Completely turned around its initial performance based on audience buzz.
That's a huge shift in how success is measured then. And you mentioned the rise of subcultures.
Indeed. Viewing habits are getting much more driven by personal interests, niche tastes. This has led to a big increase in repeat viewings across all age groups, people seeing their favorites again and again. It's also spurred this surge in popularity for Japanese animated films. They now account for almost 12% of all movies released in Korea in the past year. That's up from about 6% in 2019.
Wow.
Yeah, people are really diving deep into their specific interests.
And finally, unique experiences. I feel like I'm seeing this everywhere too. What does that look like in Korean cinemas?
Well, there's a growing demand for immersive movie theater experiences, things you just cannot replicate at home on your couch. So specialty theaters with advanced tech like ScreenX, that's the one that wraps the film around you on 3 walls.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Or luxury options like Tempur Cinema with the reclining beds, or even these private cubicles called private boxes. These premium formats have seen increased admissions and revenue. It shows a clear preference for some audiences, at least, for these high-end viewing experiences. They're willing to pay more for something special.
What a journey. I mean, from Bong Joon-ho's early inspirations, seeing that Monster by the Han River, all the way to Parasite's monumental success, we've really seen how a single film can not only reflect, but also, well, redefine an entire nation's cinematic future.
It's clear that while the K-movie industry faces, new and complex challenges, this strategic adaptation by key players, coupled with this deep understanding of what audiences want, now both compelling stories and unique viewing experiences, it really points to a dynamic and innovative path forward. It's testament to their resilience and creativity, really.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's maybe a provocative thought for you to consider. In a world where content is just so abundant, so accessible everywhere, how might the Korean film industry's unique blend, that mix of artistic integrity, biting social commentary, and this real audience-centric innovation, how might that continue to inspire and shape global storytelling for years to come?